up, everybody? Welcome to another Swass-Cast. I'm your host, John Zimino, with
Keith Gleason,
the sidekick, and we're here with a special guest, Jack, the Juice Coleman. He's playing the sweet sounds of peanuts. Today, we're going to be talking about our top 3 favorite musicians of all time. They may not be the greatest, but if they influenced you or me, then we love it, right?
Yeah.
So, Jack, first off, why are you here, buddy?
Because you harassed me to come here.
What the moi?
Weeks and weeks and weeks.
Moi? Get out of here. Oh, but Jack, okay, now that you're here, you got something to promote? Do something? Like,
Something to promote.
you got something to promote? Well, Jack, come on, tell us what you're here for.
You got an album on iTunes.
Yes,
right?
I have an album on iTunes called Fusion's Back.
Fusion back.
P-H-U-S-I-A-N apostrophe S. It's a play on words. Like
nice.
fusion. For the fusion masters of the 70s.
Okay.
And,
Why the different spelling?
Because on the album you'll see a picture of a girl's back.
Yeah.
And it's a play on words, kind of like it's her
nice.
name.
And where can
I
they
like
find this at?
At jackcoleman.com, JAKCOLEMAN.com.
Great, so they can get them at either place.
Or iTunes, yeah.
And support local talent. That's what I always say.
Well, Jack has been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm sure if you go into Boston and all that, and you go to any of those jazz clubs, they'll know Juice.
Star in the area too, right, John? You were telling me. He
Look
plays
at
a
him.
lot of places. You
Play at the gazebo in downtown Waltham every summer.
No, but he plays at the big clubs and so. Well, and Jack, just before we go into all this music stuff, what's your band that has that you usually play with?
Continentals.
The Continentals.
Okay.
Play
And they have an
Hampton
album
Beach,
too?
Hampton Beach.
You wanna-
Yeah, we have a couple
Want
records
to throw a
out.
little
Cool.
shout out to your boy that passed away?
Yeah, my friend Jack Knox.
Jack Knox was their frontman and a very talented guy. And everybody who knows me on this show knows where I've been. You know, everybody knows Grimlock, right? Very,
Just give me one scream as we go along. Can you sing the beginning of one tune?
you touch my pee-pee and I'll scream.
Oh.
Okay, all right. So what we're gonna, Jack, I gotta admit, he's probably the smartest guy here for this topic.
Yeah.
Because Jack is a very
Smartest? I don't know.
well, but you got a lot of knowledge in the music.
Yeah,
and
you
I
especially
like music.
he loves music, and
You
he knows-
understand it though when I hear it and
See, I don't
see it
understand-
on the page.
I don't understand
Doesn't
music.
make sense to me.
I don't understand music, but I understand Jack. Okay, so we're gonna do today our top 3 favorite musicians, and before we go into it, we say our and after we say the person that we like, maybe Jack can play a little couple licks. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to start with our number 3 favorite and most influential musician. Now, not an entertainer, not somebody that put the lyricist or whatever, a musician that created this stuff and that gave you an inspiration in life. Keith, why don't you start first? Number 3.
All right. Well, John knows this, but I'm not sure if you know this, Jack. I'm not into music that much. I don't buy any albums. The last time I was into music, John always makes fun of me for it, but I was during the 80s hair rock band days, you know.
Hair rock band, as you can tell.
yeah, I know. I'm not going to be into it. But more of my taste nowadays is I listen to a lot of talk radio, like Howard Stern and NPR
One
and
of our
stuff
idols.
like that. But like the music I like now is usually more to like stuff in movies and TV and things. So my top 3 for me right now, the third one, I'd probably go with Beethoven.
Beethoven.
I mean, just unbelievable legend. His music is still relevant today. You see it in every movie. Well, not every movie, but you know, it still pops up here and there.
Keith, did we not use Beethoven?
Perfect.
Yeah, Keith, did we not use a little Beethoven in our
second comic book trailer?
Check it out. Check out our next one at
I
HeroNV.com.
think that's what we use, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so check it out at HeroNV.com, our comic trailer number 2. All right, I'm going to go with number 2. Oh, let's get Jack with number
go
2
to
now.
3.
Okay, Jack, you're number 3, excuse me.
Beethoven's pretty good for number 3. I didn't know we were going classical.
No, it could be anything.
You can do anything, whatever's
He's
whatever
doing
means to you.
He's
like,
doing Beethoven because, you know, he doesn't really know much, but he knows it's like Those are still relevant today.
I like fusion music. That's what I said. Fusion's back.
Yeah.
I got into. I started off playing rock, and I got into jazz.
Okay.
And then the combination of rock and jazz in the early '70s through the '70s, there were bands that were really hot. Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin, Weather Report with Joe Zawinul, Wayne Shorter, and Return to Forever with Chick Corea. So I would say probably the one that got me into it the most to start off would be Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin.
Okay, could you play a little lick from
That's all guitar stuff.
But still, can you play something that...
Mahavishnu, no, not really, but the one album that really struck me was Chick Corea, Light as a Feather.
Okay.
It was like the first jazz, Brazilian, rock and roll music that was like, and there was a song called 500 Miles High. 500 miles high.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's you.
That's number 3.
Number 3. My number 3, I'm going to go in with, I think, is one of the influential... I mean, it changed my whole perception of music. Obviously, you know this, we always fight back and forth, and one of your inspirations too, but definitely an inspiration for me. I'm going to say Ray Manzeric. I mean, I know Jim Morrison was the guy that put with his charisma and all that, put the Doors on the map, but Ray Manzeric, I mean, the talent of the music behind that, and his Latino flair, the blues, the jazz. Now, I mean, Manzeric, you were influenced by Manzeric, of course. He was probably, maybe growing up in the 60s and stuff, the first...
Well, if you played piano... And
he was the first cool guy, though, that you saw.
Well, no, really? Before that was Stevie Winwood, Spencer Davis Group.
Yeah,
where
those
you heard
were good.
The organ. When you heard the Hammond organ, and there was also like Blues Magoos had organ, so you were into that. But then the first real record where somebody improvised actually was probably Santana.
Yeah.
Santana, and then the Doors. And then a lot of bands, you know, they had Hammond organs in them. It was great. Piano and organ.
All right, Keith, number 2.
All right. Not sure what you guys think about this, and for like I said, I have no idea about good music.
Keith, you got no idea about nothing.
Exactly. Number 2, I always enjoyed his music, and some of it even moves me once in a while. Is Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
But yeah,
I always had a problem with Billy Joel. I know my first experience was on Friday Night Videos.
Yeah.
And what was that? Uptown Girl.
Yeah.
And I was just used to wait. At that time, I was used to wait for Michael Jackson. I wanted to see Michael Jackson beat it, or Def Leppard at that time. But I was Billy Joel because that was such a big hit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand it. But then some of his older stuff.
His older stuff's better.
Yeah, and then that when I started learning more about that, then especially that song.
His song about Vietnam, Goodnight Saigon, that always kind of brings a tear to my eye.
Oh, we're gonna have Keith start crying.
I'm getting that chill right now. It's so sad the way he sings the lyrics, everything.
See, this is why we got Jackie. Brings a whole new dimension for the Swass-Cast, right, Keith? All right, so look at that.
I mean, just from your perspective, what do you think of Billy Joel?
Oh, Billy Joel's great.
Okay, good, good.
But Billy Joel
prefer the older?
Billy Joel was. The only problem I had was when Billy Joel was big. I was into jazz.
Yeah.
So I was learning Billy Joel songs to play out in cover bands or whatever.
Right.
So it was just like a tune.
Yeah.
I never appreciated him while it was going on.
Yeah.
Now you look back on a lot of his lyrics and stuff, and the way he wrote tunes and his attitude and how much, you know, he kicked butt when he did concerts. He was like a crazy man.
Yeah.
And he was a great piano player. But back then it was just another Billy Joel tune I gotta learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I don't know if they have it on YouTube, but sometimes they have Howard Stern's interviews on there. If you seek out the Billy Joel one, he had Billy Joel on his show with a piano and everything. Unbelievable interview. Like,
Oh yeah.
and it's more, you know, you know Howard, he gets into the sex talk, but like it's in this interview in particular, it's more like how he came up with songs. So you might be interested in it.
Yeah.
A lot of his inspiration, just like any great artist, comes to him like he'll see something and he says he said he was in New York when he wrote was it New York State of Mind? He was on a bus and it just hit him and he had to stop his vacation, go to his hotel and write the song.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that kind of stuff.
You can tell he's totally right brain. But the other thing is, you meet people or you see people like that are right brained where he's creative, but he's a perfectionist too.
Oh, absolutely.
You can just see he's driven to do it this way.
And speaking of Howard
and that
Stern,
creates the sound they have, you know.
Speaking of Howard Stern, you know he asked if he tagged Christine Brinkley and all that shit. All right, my number 2 of all time, I'm going to have to go with, come on, you were there, you felt it, the guitar man Jimi Hendrix, who brought a whole level of heaviness to music. Where the Beatles, it went for Elvis making it sexy and all that stuff, and the Beatles, you know, making it this magical thing, but then Hendrix gave it that evilness. And everything Hendrix did to assess to his genius, did it in 2 years, right? It was only 2 years, and he made, like, the Beatles had, what, 7 years? Doors had 5 years. I mean, Hendrix only had 2 years. He played backup in some other band, like Little Richard and some other duos and stuff, but it just brought that heavy.
See, I'm old enough to have Jimi Hendrix come into my life.
Yeah. Oh, how was that?
From
Jeff?
nowhere.
Where was that?
See,
Jeff?
that's where you can't
He
even
heard the
experience.
Beatles on the
I'll
Ed
give you an
Sullivan
example.
show.
Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, that song was banned across America.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay? It was banned where I lived.
No shit.
You couldn't hear that song on the radio. So my brother...
So what was it? Just you had to get it underground?
You could get it from somebody who lived in another town or another part along the East Coast. It probably wasn't banned. My brother went to college outside of Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
So he came home one summer, and he had this big reel-to-reel tape deck, and he had the Hollies on there, this band with all the harmony and stuff, were really good. And then he had this guy, Jimi Hendrix. Purple Haze, right?
Yeah.
And it was the album that was on. I don't even know if that was on an album or if that was just a single. I can't even remember.
It was a single. It did get
Anyway, he had this on this reel-to-reel. Now, this is out of nowhere. It's not on the radio. He just starts playing it in the house.
Yeah.
And I can remember my cousin and I in the living room, a la Tom Cruise, jumping around,
dancing, like,
with the broom.
yeah.
He made us have to pick up a broom and turn it into a guitar.
Nice.
And we played that like, we played that over and over again, that song probably for weeks, for the whole summer, till my brother went back to school.
That's
On that tape.
awesome.
And then eventually what happened in the Midwest, there would be one station come on, and you would hear about it, underground FM station.
Yeah.
And then you would hear Hendrix on there.
Yeah.
Hearing that type of music, I mean, even the Beatles, you were there for
that's
like the Ed Sullivan thing. But hearing that for the first time, Jack, just so we can go on that, tell about your experience listening to, I mean, come on, we got first-hand knowledge right here, listening to the Beatles. 1964 on the Ed Sullivan show.
Before Ed Sullivan, there was a show called Jack Parr.
Okay.
That was on, it's just like a talk show.
Yeah.
And I can remember my parents, you know, when you're like 12 or whatever, you go to your parents, okay, we got to go to see Uncle Jimmy now. So you go to Uncle Jimmy's house and they're talking, you're just sitting there waiting to go home. Well, I can remember sitting in their living room and this Jack Park was on. He goes, there's this band over in England going crazy and blah, blah, blah. They're called the Beatles with an A.
Yeah.
And we're going to show them. So they showed all the people screaming. And I remember going, wow, listen to that music.
Yeah.
Didn't know I was going to be a musician,
right.
you know, but I liked playing the piano. Listen to that music. What is that?
Is that the moment that made you like...
Yeah, so I just went, what is that? What is that? And then, after that,
now this is hearing.
I Want to Hold Your Hand came on the radio.
Okay.
And when you heard I Want to Hold Your Hand, it had these intervals in there that you never heard before. I want to hold your hand. I want to hold your hand. You never heard those harmonies before. Yeah. So you're going, oh, what is that? How come, what does that sound? It doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't sound like this. Which 50s music, you know? Yeah. Shuffle beat, it was all different.
Yeah.
And how was it, Jack? How was
it? So you're hearing it, and you know, they harmonize in sixth. That chord, you never heard that chord before.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh, it's going all through you, the sound of the music. So then, oh, they're coming to New York, and they're going to be on this TV show.
Yeah.
So I remember my father sitting here, my mother sitting there, my brother sitting there, my sister sitting there, and I'm sitting there like this on the couch. I'll never forget as long as I live. And you'll see pictures of it where you're sitting there like this. I was shaking. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then going back to school the next day, and every kid in your room who was into music is shaking, vibrating. They're like this from the music they heard the night before on Ed Sullivan when you saw him. Wow. And the weird thing was, after that, people don't realize this, the advent of music stores in America, how many millionaires were created on the mom and pop music store in every town in America?
Right. Everybody
came from the Ludwig drums that Ringo was playing.
Yeah.
They all sold the Rickenbacker bass, and they all sold George Harrison's guitar.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's it. It was almost like, you know, like MMA's big now. Now you see all like the gyms coming up.
Yeah.
Back then, it was
music stores downtown every town.
Everybody wanted a part of it. That's how big.
Yeah, and I
culturally changing.
Beatle, like the merchandise, wasn't there?
And then you saw everybody had the buttons.
Nothing. Only Elvis has more merchandise.
The shirts, the hats. Every kid had the Beatles thing on.
Yeah.
And so when Hendrix, going back to the Hendrix thing, when we did that, like, as much as I love the Beatles, and you know, but Hendrix brought that raw heaviness that Black Sabbath transcended and made it the dun dun dun, you know, like that. But it was Hendrix. Like, you listen to that Hendrix, and then everything thereafter, like, and before that, it was like it's almost like you put the amplifier in. It's almost like what they did, the Kinks did, but like heavier. And that was just. Could you play us a little Hendrix? You got any?
No,
come on, Jack.
I don't have any Hendrix.
You don't have it in you? Fucking asshole. All right.
All
right. That was my number 2. Jack, did you say your number 2? No, I think we go to you last. Jack, your number 2.
My number 2. Well, I mean, see, I have a problem with. I never do this. You guys do the list and 1, 2, 3. I don't do 1, 2, 3s. I never do this stuff.
Right. It's hard
when you say good, my brain sees a kaleidoscope of everybody I like.
I know, that's why.
And I don't go, he's better than him, he's just different.
I should have put a disclaimer on this.
Well, I'm like
Jack's
that.
like that.
I'm like that with movies. People tell me what's your top 10 movies, and I can never put a list.
So I'm picturing a tree.
I'm
picturing the tree. I'm picturing the tree of music, and then I just have all these fruits on there.
The tree of woe. Okay. Yeah. So pick one.
Pick something that, like you said, like the Beatles there that just influenced
that did that to me.
Yeah. Would you put that as like a number 2?
The Beatles?
Yeah, they'd be up there.
One?
Beatles would be. See, I read this thing one time, and it said it was in this Berkeley magazine that comes out, and there was a study that people did. On why people are connected to certain kinds of music.
Okay.
And they say it happens between you're 12 and like 17 or 18 years old. All the music you hear
Never
from
happened
that,
to Keith.
all the music that you hear, whatever's happening in your life, if you hear music in there, in that period, when the whole world is opening up to you, you're like, oh, what's this?
It makes
girls, freedom, your own will, everything coming in, your own taste and things that you like, and in those 6 years, it grabs you for the rest of your life. You will never lose that. You might not be as excited about it, but you'll never lose that feeling you had. And then every other music that you listen to
kind of relates to
is in some way connected to that music right there. So the next big thing that I heard was I would have to say Oscar Peterson, who's a jazz piano player.
Yeah.
I would remember driving to school, and my cousin had this station on, and this piano's playing, and I said, "Don't turn it off. Find out who that is." And then I went and bought records, and then I tried to copy the records.
Yeah.
Of who it was.
Let's give it.
So the first song I ever played was this. It's called Body and Soul.
Number one.
Number one.
How do you follow that up, Keith?
I can't.
Like I said, that 12 to 17 is never there.
Well, actually, some of this might fall into that age group.
Go ahead, Keith. Come on.
Number one, John Williams. I think he's done some of the most
of all
unbelievable scores ever for movies.
Star Wars,
Superman, which I might even like better than Star Wars.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, and they're epic, and you never forget them. I bought full out like the last 3 Star Wars movies that came out, the prequels.
I actually
bought all of those albums. The score is unbelievable.
I actually had to walk off camera, and I want that all to be, and you have to listen. Ready? Which I think is the greatest score of all time.
Yeah.
Better than Star Wars, better than Indiana. Now I know those are legendary. The reason why it sounds like a superhero. And Donner said I could hear
right here
Superman.
You just picture him ripping the shirt open and
come on,
take off in the sky.
Jack, give us something. Give us something.
Do you know Super?
I don't think I know it.
Do you got Star Wars though? John Williams, like
the music,
one of the greatest ever. I have to say, because
the idea behind the movie so perfectly. I think,
he could look at the picture. See, this is what you're saying about Superman. He saw Superman and came up with that theme. But Star Wars, it isn't really about the hero.
Yeah,
it's about that dark thing.
Right.
It's about
the Imperial March.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And that music is a good part of the chunk of the reason why that movie is so timeless.
I'll give you an example of something. Something I saw yesterday. I don't know what it was. It was a show on something, but it was talking about Frankenstein movie, the werewolf, all those B movies.
Yeah.
There was this guy.
Blasphemy.
I don't know who it was. He said those movies were so bad, and there was no energy and things going on in them, that the thing that made them exciting was the music.
Oh, it gave it that horror, the horror scary.
He goes, because it was corny, it was goofy, all like the twirling, when werewolf would change, it'd be like this weird spiral thing going on, and people, all these scenes and everything, it looks kind of corny and goofy, but as soon as you add in the scary music in there, all of a sudden that whole thing becomes scary.
Yeah. It gives movies that extra.
Oh, so the genius is Steven Spielberg, knowing that Williams could do what he's doing, and then saying, "Here, do it." And then, can you imagine him showing up? And Spielberg said it too. When he would show up and go, "Here's what I have," Spielberg would go, "Oh my god!"
Look at one of the greatest intro to movies. And I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but you watch Jaws. Oh, of course. Yeah. But you watch Star Wars. I mean that. I was too young. It's the best part of the movie. I did not see Star Wars in the theater. I saw Empire Strikes Back. I remember I was so young in Return of the Jedi. But even going to see the newer ones, those 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, that the episodes, I went there to those stupid movies, and I hate those. But just to get the effect of that, dun, 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 and I was like, after 5 minutes, I was like, okay, let's get out of here. Yeah! But he's the only composer I ever went to a movie to see him in music.
Everyone
Jaws,
in
look at
credits, but like
I can play Jaws.
No, it's this one.
You son of a bitch.
But like, he makes credits exciting.
Okay, for me now, number one of all time. Jack, can I have it in my pocket here because I want to say it correctly? Here we go. Can you read that, Jack?
Vince Guaraldi.
Come on, Jack, give it to me,
man.
There's nothing. Oh wait! I got Linus's blanket here. Look. With Linus's blanket here. Okay, now we had a fight with this, and I think he's probably the greatest. And you're like, oh my god, there's so many better. But
I don't do.
Yeah, but he doesn't do.
This is what it means to you.
Yeah, but if there's anything on a cartoon format or animated format that music. And yo cool, you know what he does that? Yo cool, like. You can hear Snoopy talking.
Yeah.
You listen to that music, and it's just, it fits it so well, and you can't think of one without the other. You can look at Charlie Brown, and you can hear the music. You can listen to the music, and you see Charlie Brown. There's not many things in this world that can do that.
But then again, you got into that at a certain time in your life.
Right.
And that's why that affected you like that.
But also,
where I was older,
right,
so it didn't have the same impact. Well, that's kind of a cool tune, but I wasn't putting the two together with Charlie Brown, and Peanuts, and the whole horrible thing of being Charlie Brown and everything's going wrong. And, oh my God! I would look at it and go, I can see how he's bummed out.
Come on, he couldn't kick the football. Yeah, it's just like, but. When you hear that, I almost hear children. Like, it's such a, and it's once again, that's up there with the Star Wars thing. That will be forever. We'll all be gone. Jack more so quicker than us because he might die right now.
Yeah.
But there's heart attacks. But you hear that? I hear children playing. You hear Snoopy talking. You hear Woods.
And that makes you feel good. It gives you the thing that gives you feelings Whatever it is.
Why you relate to
whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And, for example, I have this buddy of mine. He was crazy, you know.
This gives me feelings.
Yeah. This buddy of mine was crazy, and he would do all kinds of wild stuff. I wouldn't even get into all the wild stuff he got into. But what saved him was going to Baptist churches in Florida.
Okay.
And he's the only white guy in there, right?
Yeah.
And they're all dancing and singing and going crazy. And he goes, "That's my release now. I don't need to do all the crazy stuff I was doing. I go there on Friday nights." And he looks forward to that's his night out.
That's the thing about the blacks. They love to they celebrate God. Like my brother, when he was in the Navy, he said like, you know, there would be the blacks would go into the church and the whites would go, the honkies would go into here. And then like my brother and like his friends, they would always go with the blacks because they'd have it's got some. Can get a little gospel going here? Get a little gospel. Keith, go put on blackface. Amazing Grace. All right, Jack.
So, Jack, give us a
Number one. Well, number one, you know, Beethoven's up there.
Yeah.
I hate doing this.
I know,
Jack.
But
come on, Jack. You can...
I started off with Charlie Parker,
Yeah.
The Bird.
Yeah.
Because when I heard The Bird, I went, oh, wow. Bebop.
Nice.
Charlie Parker, sax player from the 50s. Grew up in Kansas City, moved to New York. He died, I think about 1959, 57, 59. He was 35. On the coroner's report said he was 65.
That was the guy that you let
Had
me
a
hear.
tough life.
Yeah. Yeah. Rock and roll.
He played the horn, and he was just a perfect example of him. There's this book called Bird Lives. This guy traveled around the country with this little reel-to-reel tape recorder, and he would sit up. He would set it up in the bathrooms. He would sit in the stall in the bathroom, then run the wire all the way to the stage throughout the club. He had these long wires and everything. Can't forget the guy's name. I forget the guy's name. The Italian guy. And he just traveled around taping them live. And the perfect scenario Charlie Parker was, he would eat 2 Mexican dinners, drink a whole bottle of tequila, smoke about 4 joints, and shoot heroin.
What the fuck?
And then walk down and be late for
That's
the
about
gig.
Keith's diet.
Late for the gig because he didn't have a horn that he pawned to get the heroin. Then somebody would get him a horn. He would show up an hour late and just walk through the crowd playing and get up on stage and just mesmerize everybody. Be out of his mind playing incredible.
A lot of rock.
So the rock and rollers had nothing on those guys, but he was dead at 35.
Right.
No liver left.
That's how you gotta go.
My God, it's unbelievable to
Jack,
me
tell-
that people can do that. Like the talent that's there, you know.
And I'll give you an example.
It's like walking or something.
I was listening to
it's
something
just there.
Miles Davis.
I was listening to something last week, and the guy's talking to him, and he goes, "Well, what do you think about the book?" He's asking Charlie Parker this. It's like one interview, the only interview that you can find on YouTube.
Yeah.
He says, "What about?" And Charlie Parker goes, "Oh, I believe in the book." And the book means that you know how to read notes and you practice, you know, like.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, there was a period of time where I was going to get kicked out. All the neighbors wanted my mother to move because I was in my room playing 12 hours a day, And he said, well, how long did you do that? Oh, about 3 years. So then you go, oh, Charlie was doing that 12 hours a day for 3 years. That's why he's like that.
Yeah. It's almost
You know what
like
I mean?
it's almost like you in your dungeon in the bed.
Yeah. I mean, any musician that you hear, when you see him, like, oh, he's really good. No. I mean, part of it's good.
Yeah.
A lot of it's doing it.
Keep
And you don't even call it work. It's just what they do.
Right.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. Like, Jack, just since we're on the topic of musicians, tell about your experiences with Steven Tyler, how you used to jam with him.
Over here in
Oh yeah.
Watertown, right down the street here.
Now,
Okay.
he hung out. Let me set up shop.
Yeah.
Steven Tyler of Aerosmith used to, like, you met him in the 80s. Now, this is when they
I
were...
met him when after the band broke up, before they got big with Walk This Way again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
He used to hang out at LaSalle's over in Watertown.
Okay.
They used to jam together. They could get in. And what's funny about that once again, that's when Aerosmith was dead, and then they became big with Walk This Way and
Right,
stuff. So
yeah.
Jack, all right, Jack. Before we wrap this up, really quick, play us out of here, brother.
Let me see. Let's do a little Beethoven.
So everybody, we're gonna thank Jack the Juice Coleman for showing up here. I can't get rid of him. He's always on my side, trying to bother me to be on. But here he goes. Keith, give me a how good?
How good?
How about a so good? And quit those heroin diets, Keith. Charlie Pack.
Good night.